Africa's morning cafe right here on TV47. It's good to have you and of course have you interact with us. Let's have a moment, let's chat. Let's have a conversation as to what we'll be discussing. Remember, it's a Monday. We'll be talking about health towards the last hour of the program, and I'll be telling you what we discuss. But before then, it is what is happening in the country. It is politics, it is education, it is health, it is economy, and so much more. What do you make of what trajectory the country is taking at this very time, where we can confidently say that we are not so much so old in the new reign, and just how the government is going to steer this wheel is what most of the people are looking at, setting up questions, setting up answers from their end, and of course having that hope alive that indeed we're going to find a lot of emancipation across board. And when I say across board, we all know it's on those key sectors that I have talked about: the question of education, the question of health, the question of sports, the question of economy, as well as just getting that political sanity. And so we'll be delving deep into having this conversation alongside the gentlemen that will be joining us. So don't you go anywhere. In a minute, I will be introducing them, or shortly I will be introducing them. We have the People Daily, the Standard newspaper, as well as the Daily Nation. We take a look at the papers briefly, the key stories that have been captured on the front page, and then later on we'll be shifting gears to introduce this gentleman for the conversation. And so the Standard newspaper this morning, the front page of the Standard newspaper speaks of how the government is set to name officials that stole billions. This will be interesting to watch this as conversation on whether there is a question of graft and how best this government can address it is on. They say, I will name top officials who stole 24 billion during transition, says Deputy President. And of course, they say the state is set to dismantle the monopoly in the gas sector as well as the milk sector, and promises that by end of the year, prices of these basic commodities will shoot down. When he says this, then others would argue that it is witch hunt, but we can only wait to see what trajectory this will take. They say our competitors filed a petition that they knew was headed to nowhere so that they can have time to steal billions of shillings from the state coffers. This is according to the Deputy President, who says now it is time to uncover them. It will be interesting to watch how they will be uncovered and how some of these utterances will be looked into, and most importantly, just how some of these things that they say they are going to revive, and of course the cost of the basic commodities or the specific commodities are going to be taken down, and whether then it will rub a certain bit of people or a certain clique of people the wrong way. The other story that has been captured here is on the question of sports. Wanjiru's big win in Japan Marathon. That is a story captured on page 29. I am picking that one, which we rarely do, because then it is a plus for us, and we say congratulations for us getting to this point, courtesy of Wanjiru, and wishing them nothing but the best. That is the athletes, the sportsmen and women of this country. Alarm as drying rivers leave thousands with no livelihoods. That's quite unfortunate, and true to it, if you travel the different parts of the country, you realize that indeed the rivers have dried up, and we ask ourselves what will be left of the nation. This even as we continue to cross fingers that it will rain. Away from it, Matiang'i flies back into the country to the DCI EAC system. Former Interior Minister jetted back in the country and is expected to honor summons, that is to explain to investigators source of his wealth and why he raised an alarm of a raid that never was. A story captured on page 6. We'll be looking at that as we continue with the broadcast. This as the term of the Safaricom CEO is almost coming to a close. They say Safaricom board is silent on this very matter as the term clearly nears, and that the government and both Vodafone and Vodacom are expected to agree through the board on whatever or whether Peter Ndegwa then will continue as chief executive. That is a story that has been captured on page 20 of the Standard newspaper. Those are the key stories. And of course, we'll shift gears to the Daily Nation, which speaks of Prince Harry, who says, "I always felt different from other UK royals." A story captured on page 25, and it will be interesting for you to follow up on this story of Prince Harry alongside the family, and we get his view on what the monarch is all about and whether indeed it could be a home for them and the family as well. They say it's controversial that, of course, he could say that, and that he left the kingdom, and that is from other UK rivals. Also in the international scene on the very same pages, that is page 24 and page 25, the United Nations states agree historic deal to protect fragile high seas, ocean ecosystems threatened by climate change, then pollution and overfishing. This they seek to address to make sure that some of these activities are a game of the past. They say activists have hailed this deal as a breakthrough moment for protection of biodiversity after over 15 years of discussion. That as well is key right there, as of course we take a look at this other one, and that French President Macron lauds DRC ceasefire as Europe sets up air bridge. And they say DR Congo must not compromise spoils of war. Open looting of the country are as well as must cease. There must be no pillaging or balkanization to war. Curfews imposed to help Burkina Faso fight jihadists. This also is an unfortunate occurrence that is playing out in one of Africa's nation, and we certainly hope that it will be addressed as should be. Back to the front page, that Finland varsity threatens to kick out Kenyan students in a fees row. Story captured on page 12. This also in relation to the county government that sent these students abroad. It looks like it's quite unfortunate that the parents sort of felt like, you know, from what it is that the governor says, the parents sort of felt like this was for free, or better yet, free of charge, of more of a scholarship. But unfortunately, according to the county government alignment or a county government arrangement that they had with these students, it was evident that they were supposed to part ways with some amount for them to enjoy the full benefits of the same. NAT demands pay for members teacher, or demands for member teachers, that is JSS, and that union wants a compensation for primary school teachers who have been assisting to teach in junior secondary, that is school, since they recently recruited teachers. And this is a conversation that has been captured on the back page. We'll be looking at it as we continue with the broadcast. One big question that is being asked here is that where to find a job. That is KNBS data, also helpful to tertiary institutions as well as students. And over the past decade, we're talking about more job opportunities that were created in the construction, public administration, and defense and educational sector. That the national analysis for data by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows, even as the country continues to grapple with biting unemployment and massive job losses, then of course adjustments we continue to seek. This is a story captured on page 6 and page 7 of the very same. Audit unveils 34 billion fuel subsidy scandal. That as well is there, and we need to understand how different the same would be. And those are the key stories that are on the Standard newspaper as well as the Daily Nation. Let's briefly see what the People Daily details. Millions of workers risk retiring to poverty. This is according to experts. And of course, number of pensions and wage earners in their sunset years without any form of social security is expected to rise steeply. What could be informing this that has been declared by the key experts that is in the security sector, as well as, of course, in the question of finances that is there. Matiang'i returns home to face his accusers. It will be interesting to watch, follow up on that to give you updates and how regions or 3 regions share half of teachers' jobs. That is a story captured on the front page and is expounded on page 6 as well. Will not be lacking the question of politics, and we'll be discussing that shortly. But allow us to pick some of these stories prepared by ourselves, and that suspects bandits have struck once again, reportedly making away with hundreds of livestock from the Masol area on a Saturday night. This latest incident has left residents frustrated with the joint operation being carried out by the National Police Service and the Kenya Defence Forces, and as tension remain high in the banditry-prone counties, that is of the North Rift Valley region, the operation has now entered its 3rd week. Moige William with that.
Tension remains high along the West Pokot and Turkana counties border after hundreds of cattle heads were reported stolen at Masol area by suspected bandits. The livestock had allegedly moved to graze at Kadengoi, Kaakong and Kainuk areas in the neighboring Turkana County due to prolonged drought. Despite of the heavy presence of Kenya Police Service and Kenya Defence Force in a joint security operation to end banditry for the past 2 weeks, reports of raids and attacks persist. The residents of West Pokot County are now questioning the relevance and effectiveness of the operation and are up in arms about how it is being undertaken.
Operation ikikuja, sisi hatuna bunduki yenyewe. Watu wenye wahalifu wako mbali sana. Sisi tuko town katikati, hata hatujui. Tangu tusaliwa watoto wetu hawajui. Hata gari ya askari wakikuja wanajeshi, hata sisi wenyewe tunaanza kutetemeka. Tunasema wamekuja wanaanza sasa kuja kutushambulia ama namna gani?
Kufika hapa saa 12 maskari nafukusa wamama, kila kitu mboka naripiwa. Mahindi ile wanauza na mwagika, napatia watu shida na shida iko ya njaa. Tukeomba tu serikali atafute njia mwafaka ambapo naweza kupata hii chambasi. Watu yote sio wajambazi.
Leaders from the area have also castigated the government for what they say is failing to protect them and their property, further calling on the government to ensure the return of more than 2,000 livestock stolen.
Kari wamejaa Kainuk, wamejaa Takwel, na kama walikuja kusaidia hii mambo yaweze kuenda chini na mambo ya kuibana ng'ombe, kunyang'anyana ng'ombe iende chini, basi waonyeshe sasa.
Kama viongozi wa West Pokot tunataka wale ng'ombe warejeshwe, na hasa wao ambao wanaletwa kufanya operation wako upande ya Turkana, Pokot warejeshwe ng'ombe yao.
Nafikiri ni ushuhuda kubwa. Wameona leo nani ndio mchokozi. Unajua kuna aggressor na retaliator. Nani sasa ndio ameonyesha nguvu yake.
With leaders drawn from Elgeyo Marakwet also lamenting on how the joint security operation is being carried out in the county.
Tunapoteza maisha kila wakati. Kama jana sasa kijana mdogo amepoteza maisha, kijana ambaye aliuliwa akiwa anatafuta riziki.
Serikali wamekuja na wanakuja kufanya operation, sasa tumeshindwa. Hii ni operation aina gani? Operation ya curfew ama operation ya kuchukua mhalifu?
They are just saying operation led by the KDF, but there are no operation which is taking place. It is only the curfew which is ongoing there. So I want to tell the government that they should act. If possible, they deploy KDF fully.
Leaders and residents of West Pokot and Turkana counties have come together in a joint clarion call to urge the government to improve its operations in the area. Earlier, the Interior Ministry gazetted 6 counties in the North Rift as disturbed and dangerous, and a joint operation carried out by the police and military personnel was launched. Interior Cabinet Secretary, while appearing before a Senate committee, reiterated that the presence of men in uniform will not be withdrawn from the area. Moige William, TV 47.
Moige for that report. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua made a vow to reveal details about how money was allegedly embezzled from public coffers by officials in the former regime. Gachagua stated that he would be releasing a detailed report in the coming days, which will include the names of cabinet secretaries, Parliament, and of course we also are looking to see those ones actually were involved in the looting of funds, as Micah Gwongo details.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has vowed to name individuals from previous regime who allegedly stole billions of shillings from the public coffers and transferred the funds to accounts locally and abroad as the country focused on the August 2022 general election results. Speaking during a church service in Roysambu Sunday, Gachagua claimed that the election petition presented by Odinga after the general election was planned to allow room for public money to be looted, yet they knew the case was not going to succeed.
Saa ile waliona uchaguzi umeharibika, walibeba na magunia. Hata hii petition huyu mzee ya maandamano hakuwa anataka, alisukumwa aweke petition to allow them room wakati ya Supreme Court inasikiza kesi.
The second in command said the senior government officials, who included some former cabinet secretaries, went on a looting spree soon after President William Ruto was declared the winner by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC and the day he was sworn in on September 13th. According to Gachagua, the powerful officials initiated the massive theft of up to 24 billion shillings when it became apparent that President William Ruto won against their candidate Azimio's Raila Odinga, and there will be no turning back.
Waibe mali ya Kenya between the time IEBC announced William Ruto as president and the day he was sworn in. They looted more than 24 billion shillings in this country. Na hiyo kesi walijua hakuna pahali naenda. Ilikuwa kesi imewekwa ndio wapore mali waende.
The petition filed by Raila Odinga on August 22nd, 2022, the DP said was a cover to allow the powerful government officials, whose details he promised to give, to empty public coffers without raising suspicion.
We found a broke country with nothing. The little that was remaining waliiba siku za mwisho. Na hawa ndio walikuwa naongoza kusema watu ni wezi.
According to Gachagua, looted money was ferried to Wilson Airport where officials boarded planes to transport it to undisclosed locations. Gachagua maintaining that the looting spree is to blame for the current state of the economy.
Those are the people who have stolen money belonging to the people of Kenya. And in the few days, we shall be releasing details.
Last week, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC commenced investigations into the acquisition of unexplained wealth by influential officials who served under former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i found himself on the receiving end after EACC sought his key documents, including initial and final wealth declaration records, to aid in the investigation. The embattled former CS reportedly jetted back in the country Saturday night after 2 weeks abroad and is set to present himself to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations Monday, March 6th. Mike, GOtv 47, Nairobi.
Sentiments by the United Democratic Alliance Secretary General Cleophas Malala saying the parties that are in Kenya Kwanza coalition should fold to join UDA has elicited mixed reactions from the leaders of the coalition's affiliate parties. And as Flora Limuki reports, Amani National Congress leader have stood their ground on the matter.
Trouble appears to be brewing for the Kenya Kwanza Alliance affiliate parties as United Democratic Alliance embarks on an ambitious plan to have all the parties fold and join its ranks.
Resolution of parties or mergers of parties within Kenya Kwanza is an ongoing discussion. It's a discussion that is not cast on stone. It's a suggestion that has been brought about by our party to ensure that we have a strategy towards winning the 2027 election.
Hivyo hata wao washikanishe hizo vyama zote, wapatie Marara ndio asukume maneno ya chama, ndio rais apate nafasi nzuri ya kujitayarisha kwa sababu ya siasa inayokuja ya 2027.
However, leaders from the Amani National Congress, a party associated with the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, are throwing a spanner in the works regarding the plan. Malamu Governor Issa Timami has stood his ground, saying that despite the party committing to support support Kenya Kwanza, it will not join UDA.
We support the Kenya Kwanza government. We also support the President, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto. But the issue of folding parties, as a party, we do not think that that is important at this stage.
Kelele ya Bwana Malala ni kelele ya chura ambayo haitamzuia ng'ombe kunywa maji.
It is not viable to run a party with 3 members of parliament.
And talk of UDA's plan to expand by dissolving smaller parties came to the fore. Malala emphasized the need to recruit members from other parties within the Kenya Kwanza coalition to join UDA. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi is the immediate former leader of Amani National Congress, while his counterpart in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Alfred Mutua, leads Maendeleo Chap-Chap. The Attorney General, Justin Muturi, an ex-official member of the cabinet, leads the Democratic Party, while the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula is the leader of Ford Kenya.
Moses Kuria is the first cabinet secretary to fold up his party and support His Excellency President William Ruto. And therefore, I'll be requesting his fellow cabinet secretaries this week, kindly fold your parties and join the ruling party, UDA.
Meanwhile, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has clarified that he intends to mentor future leaders from all parts of the country and not only those from Mount Kenya.
We are mentoring Malala from Western. We are mentoring Sahil from Kisii. What maybe Wamombi is saying, they have a problem with the mountain because the leader who was there refused to mentor young leaders.
So what was he ati mtaa moja tu? No, don't limit him. He is bigger than just Central. He is bigger than just Mount Kenya.
Flora Limuki, TV 47.
And First Lady Rachel Ruto has urged for the avoidance of discussions on LGBTQ issues in the country. Their statement comes amidst the ongoing backlash from political and religious leaders following the Supreme Court's ruling on the formation of an LGBTQ community. Some have even called for the resignation of the 7-judge bench of the Apex Court.
The Anglican Church of Kenya has reiterated its stance that its priests will not officiate same-sex marriages in the country. It also stated that resolutions made by the Mother Church, the Anglican Church of England, do not apply to Kenya. In a statement read by Archbishop of the Kitale Diocese, Emmanuel Chemengich, on behalf of Archbishop Jackson Olisipit, the Anglican Church of Kenya has called on legislators to pass laws that criminalize same-sex relationships.
The General Synod of the Church of England makes legislation for the Church of England, and the resolutions apply only to the Church of England. Whereas we in the Anglican Church of Kenya are saddened by the departure of our Mother Church from the true gospel, the resolutions do not apply to us, and we do not recognize any teaching that is extra-biblical or contrary to the teachings of the Bible.
While attending a church service at Igembe South constituency in Meru County, First Lady Rachel Ruto weighed in on the matter, stating that Kenya should remain rooted to its family traditions.
I really don't wish to get into that conversation of LGBTQ because really that is not what our traditions and even our Christian values talk about in this great country of Kenya. And we know that the Bible is also against that. Kwa hivyo tungependa kusema kwamba tushikilie mambo ya familia.
This as the Supreme Court's ruling in February this year that allowed for the registration of LGBTQ organizations continues to face backlash from religious leaders and politicians. Some are even calling for the resignation of the 7 judges of the Apex Court due to their position on the matter.
Wale waliozungumza wale majaji yako kwa maandishi. Yale anayozungumza rais ni mambo ya mdomo. Na haja tuambia ni vipi yeye atachukua hatua ya kuhakikisha ya kuwa yale yaliyopitishwa na koti hayatokuwa ni yenye kufanyiwa kazi.
Kwa hivyo ningeuliza mbunge yetu na pia niulize president achukue hatua iliyo sawa. Hata hawa majaji wajulikane nia yao ni gani kwa nchi ya Kenya.
And as a people and Christians, the men and women of this country, lazima tutokee, tuchukue bana kama hii, tuseme hapana, tumekataa, and we demand that our culture be respected.
And at the same time, Mombasa Senator Senator Faki Mwenyehaji and his Kilifi counterpart Stuart Mazayo have called upon public participation on the matter.
Maamuzi ya Supreme Court kuhusiana na mambo ambayo ni ya sheria na mambo ambayo yanaathiri umma kwa jumla lazima yawe subjected to a referendum. Kwa sababu hiyo ndio itatoa, kwa sababu sisi kama wananchi katika jamhuri yetu ya Kenya ndio tuna uamuzi wa mwisho kuhusiana na jambo lolote.
Lakini sasa tumeona ni jambo la aibu kwamba wale tunaowategemea kuweza kuweka mwelekeo ama misingi ya heshima katika nchi, wao wenyewe wamekiuka hiyo sheria. Mimi nataka tulaani kitendo kama hicho. Tulaani sana uamuzi uliofanywa na Supreme Court.
Meanwhile, religious leaders in Mombasa County, under the umbrella of Kenya Christian Voice, will organize a peaceful demonstration on Monday to petition President William Ruto to criminalize same-sex relationships.
It is a creation of the West planted here to corrupt our nation and our youth in totality, to create evil spiritual atmosphere in Kenya, which are open door for curse to our nation.
And in Nyacheki, Bobasi constituency, Kisii County, a long-standing land dispute between two families has resulted in the tragic loss of 4 lives, with one person currently fighting for their life in hospital due to serious injuries sustained during the fight. Gigi Josephine with that.
1 piece of land, 2 families and 4 lives lost. Those are the statistics in the shocking tale of a land dispute that turned tragic. The fight erupted between 2 brothers, David Omwenga and James Omwenga, and in the middle of the scuffle, 4 of David Omwenga's workers, who had rushed to protect their boss from being battled, were allegedly hacked to death during the fight.
The family members wanted actually to prepare the ground again where they were evicted from for purposes of burial of the resting my uncle who passed on Thursday. And we were accompanied by about quite a number of police officers to the scene. Upon arrival, my cousins plus other relatives known descended upon us. So we were whisked away, and upon just about 30 minutes down, the houses were torched down, the workers were killed. 4 were killed.
Nyamache Sub-County Police Commander Kipkemboi Kipkulei has confirmed the incident, stating that the perpetrators also set fire to David's house. He further noted that the land dispute, which led to the tragic incident, has been recurring for over 2 decades.
What triggered this is a prolonged land dispute between 2 brothers. So those who were killed were, the 4 that were killed were Mr. Benson Omwayo, who was the foreman in this farm, and Emmanuel Nyakundi, Amos Ondimo, and Dixon Makori, that we found his body today in one of the houses that was burned yesterday. The remains of the body were found in the house. They were burned beyond recognition.
Evans Bosire claimed that the perpetrators are well known, although there was laxity among the local administrators to take steps in solving the dispute.
What we found out was the laxity from the area chief and the sub-chief, because it was on Friday when my cousins plus or the family of my deceased uncle were trying to erect a structure for purposes of burying their father. Where the chief was evasive on Friday and even on the material day, and the sub-chief also was unable to come out of our house to even come and query the attention from the villagers.
What we want is justice for the departed soul. It has become a norm in this Kisii County to kill people like chickens.
The police have launched a manhunt to apprehend those responsible, while the bodies of the deceased have been taken to Nyamache Sub-County Hospital mortuary for post-mortem examinations. Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
And the family of Julius Marwa, a police officer who was killed while on duty in Mombasa, is calling for justice. The family is concerned that there are individuals attempting to tamper with the case, and they fear that they may not receive justice. Marwa was reportedly pushed out of a moving vehicle by the driver, who then ran over him.
It is a family in agony, having lost their loved one in a brutal manner, which has caused deep aches, leaving them crying for justice. On Monday last week, Julius Mara, a police officer, left his home for work, unbeknownst to him that it would be his last day alive. A routine traffic stop will then turn ugly when the motorist of the vehicle he was trying to stop pushed him and ran over him, events that haunt his family to date.
Si tunaomba haki tendeke juu we are so devastated as a family, and kitu ilifanyika is so inhuman. Hakuna mtu anafaa kufanyiwa hivyo. It's so bad, and we are asking you guys mtusaidie tupate haki ya baba yetu. Aliuliwa vibaya sana.
Tulishangazwa sana na kifo cha mzee. Wakati tulipata habari, hata watoto walikuwa wana faint. Tungependa sana sababu tunaona polisi hakuna mtu ambaye anawatetea hao watu wa human rights. Tungeomba sana waweze kushughulikia hiki kesi cha mzee, sababu tunaona kwamba hatuna mtetezi ambaye ataweza kutetea. Mzee wangu aliuawa vibaya sana. Mzee wangu aliuawa sana vibaya sana, hata wakati nilimuona sikuamini kwamba kweli ni yeye. Jameni, sijui hata nitafanya aje na watoto ambao aliniachia. Ameniachia watoto wadogo sana, sijui hata vile nitafanya na wao, na alikuwa amewazoesha hata maisha mazuri sana.
And now there are claims of people trying to interfere with the case. And so the family has visited a number of offices seeking help. Among them, the Muslims for Human Rights Muhuri.
Muthoni has called on chiefs and village elders to spread and spearhead alternative dispute resolution mechanisms in order to avoid a backlog of cases in court and congestion of prisons. Speaking after attending a church service where she stated that they intended to sensitize authorities who have barazas about the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, PS Muthoni reiterated the importance of involving everybody in the process so as to sort out societal issues together in a bid to uphold the Kenyan criminal justice system.
Who are already in conflict with the law, we will not really punish them. We will try and correct them because they are already there. But we try to prevent others from being contained. There is no bigger punishment than denying an individual freedom. So being in prison is the biggest problem that you can cause to an individual. Therefore, before we get to that point of denying you freedom, we need to correct. And the only way is to have alternative dispute resolutions. Mambo ya mashamba tunaongea nyumbani, si kwenda kotini. Kwa sababu shamba unaulizana na ndugu yako, ndugu na dada. So you sit down as a family, sort out the issue as a family. Musipelekane kotini, alafu mnaenda kujiaibisha pale. Sit down as a family, be able to sort out your issues before it even gets to the judge. Again, the priests have a role to play. When we come to church, if there is a dispute amongst us, na tunakuja kanisa moja, then why do we have to come pray on a Sunday and we cannot speak when we are out there? We start, our hearts must be cleansed from out there. Tukikuja kanisani, tunakuja tunasema Mungu pole. Kwa sababu nimekosea, tafadhali tibu roho yangu.
Now, Uasin Gishu County Governor Jonathan B. has called on the national government to put more efforts in funding and providing education to children under the CBC curriculum. Speaking during a teachers' conference in Eldoret Town, Governor B has blamed the government for what he said was not putting more emphasis on parents who are the major stakeholders in the education sector. According to the governor, the CBC curriculum is not understood by both the parents as well as the teachers, adding that if efforts to alert the system fail, then government should revert to the 844 system.
This time, I don't have real serious authority to mention about the CBC thing, because in the first place when it was started, or when they came up with this idea of CBC, they didn't involve stakeholders. So parents really don't understand this thing. And I'm sure, okay, my children are past CBC, but I know the parents are not happy because of the cost of the cost of CBC education. What the government should have done is get engaged to stakeholders, let them get to know what is it that they want. So if you just put something on us and we don't understand, we will get confused. So let me hope that the new CS for education will improve on this. But the past CSS, we didn't understand a thing. Personally, as a governor, that's why I'm telling you, I can't comment on this thing, because in the first place, I didn't understand it. 844, at least I can talk about 844 or the other system. But this one, I really don't understand it, especially where I don't know why are they now in high school or they are in primary? Because they are in the same primary school.
Recently, 2 people were arrested in Deya, Limuru, Kiambu County for possessing donkey meat and skin, raising concerns that illegal donkey meat traders may be secretly supplying the market. Now, this has led to fears among Kenyans about the safety of the meat they consume. One of the 4 major donkey slaughterhouses is located at Ithioko on the border between Machakos and Kitui County, with Kitui County having over 160,000 donkeys, according to statistics by the Kitui County Veterinary Department. That is to shed light on the donkey trade situation and how donkeys are transported from Kitui to Limuru. Our reporter Nicholas Bai visited donkey markets in Kithioko, Mwingi, Kabati and Kisii markets in Kitui County.
Our investigation begins at Kithioko Market in Machakos County, where we observe that donkey trading is one of the most prominent business in the area. Even before sunrise, donkey traders from various locations arrive at this local market situated along the Nairobi-Garissa Highway.
Mimi ni mmoja katika wale ambao walikuwa wananunua punda kutoka huku mashinani na kuyapeleka huko kwenye slaughter.
Our initial objective is to determine if donkey meat is consumed in this region, and during our investigation, we interviewed Bernard Zinka, a donkey seller for 14 years.
Natumia nyama ya punda. Na inakuliwa. Nyama yake ni kama ya ng'ombe tu. Hakuna tofauti. Ngozi ndio mbaya.
Our second task is to investigate whether the donkey are still being stolen despite the closure of Kithioko Donkey Slaughterhouse.
Wizi wa mifugo iko kila mahali, sio mambo ya punda. Tuko na accounts kwamba ng'ombe wanaimbiwa, mbuzi wanaimbiwa, kondoo wanaimbiwa, lakini hii ya punda imekuwa ni kama ati kitu kingine tofauti. Wizi ni lazima itakuwa. Kwa hivyo kuna njia nyingi za kutunza mambo ya wizi ya punda.
Lastly, we aim to uncover where the stolen donkeys go after being taken from their owners.
Na hii punda wakati mwingine sinaimbwa na ikaenda ikachinjwa na kuchinjwa. Ukienda mahali inachinjiwa unakuta ngozi na kishwa.
As a result of this, we proceed to the Mwingi Town Livestock Market in Kitui County. Upon arriving, Peter Gathayo, the Mwingi Central Sub-County Veterinary Officer, informed us that Kitui County had prohibited the transportation of donkey outside the county in 2021.
We have been having some donkeys being traded outside these sub-counties, although in 2021 we withdrawn movement permits for donkeys so that we could reduce the donkey movement outside this sub-county. It was a decision by the county government of Kitui to withdraw those movements.
During our investigation, we obtained 2 donkey transportation permits, which were confirmed to be original by Peter Gathayo, the Mwingi Central Sub-County Veterinary Officer. The first permit indicated that 20 donkeys were transported on October 29, 2022 from Kisii Market to Kiambu County, specifically for domestic use as indicated on the first permit.
We have not synchronized our activities with other counties as pertain to donkey movement. For example, here we have withdrawn movement permit, but we don't know what is happening in our neighboring counties like Machakos, Tana River, or Embu or Tharaka-Nithi. So our worry is maybe there have been ongoing donkey trend due to that lack of synchronization.
According to the second permit, 30 donkeys were purchased and transported by a person named Mbugwa to Limuru for resale upon arrival. The same vehicle that transported the donkey in the first permit was used for this transaction as well, and the donkeys were registered under the plate number KCJ684T.
Right now, theft status is kind of diminishing, but there are spot check cases where donkeys have been stolen and slaughtered. So we are yet to establish why are the donkeys being stolen and slaughtered, whereas the former Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Peter Munya, banned the issue of active donkey slaughter in Kenya. So
this raises serious questions according to donkey expert like James Theory from Brook, East Africa, an animal welfare charity.
It is important to bring on record that no movement permits, even at the counties that are issuing movement permits from one point to the other, usually respond to no objection for movement of livestock. No objection for movement of livestock is usually issued by the receiving county. The county where donkeys or any other animal is moving from issues the movement permit when the no objection for movement has already been issued. And so if you find that there are donkeys that are being moved and the counties that are receiving these donkeys have not issued a no objection, there is suspicion either of collusion or those movement permits are not legitimate. They could be a fake. And again, if they are not a fake, then the question is, how can a government officer issue a movement permit when he or she knows very well he can only or she can only issue that movement permit in response to an objection that has been given by a receiving county.
However, locals inform us here that donkey slaughtering is a rare practice in these areas but are bought in bulk and transported to other destinations.
Lakini wakati tulikuwa tunazipeleka kama huko Mgotio ama huko Naivasha, ungepata tu roli hapa inangojea ndio ibebe punda. Kajiado huko bisi linanunua, likuwa naenda mpaka na huko Muroti, huko ni Bomet nazinunua na napeleka. Silota ile zile nilikuwa napeleka, moja ni ile ya Mogotio, ile inaitwa hapo Chemkos, inaitwa Godox. Haya, ya pili ni hii ya Naivasha, pia nilikuwa napeleka hapo. Ingine ikafunguliwa hapa Kithioko karibu nyumbani, nikawa napeleka pale.
Watu wetu wakumbali kukula punda kwanza. Wakisha kula punda locally, hata wale ambao wako pale nje wakikuja kwetu kutafuta hii punda yetu, wanajua hii ni kitu iko na mwenyewe, ni kitu iko na value, kwa hivyo automatically bei ya punda itapanda.
The locals here informed us of another disturbing practice within the donkey trade industry. Apparently, donkeys meat traders purchase injured all donkeys at low prices of Kenya shillings 3,500 up to 4,000. These donkeys are then secretly slaughtered and the meat is smuggled into the market. One of the traders even agreed to have an audio conversation with us, but only under the condition that we change or distort their voice to protect their identity.
ukifuatilia watu hao wanajaribu wanasija kwa vichaka. Watu wanasija kwa vichaka. Sasa ile nyama ya mapunda tu, kuna mapunda wanasija, kuna mwisho watu wengi wanaenda wapi. So tunakuwa tunashukuru wao watu waiweke kubwa kiasi. Wanazikuja ngapo sokoni. Na hata sana mengine unasikia punda ya mtu imepotea, imepatikana vitu za ndani na ngozi peke yake. Nyama ikupatikana. Unaweza pata mtu kwa bome yake kama asubuhi. Usikia amepoteza punda. Watu wakifuatilia kwa vichaka wanapata peke yake. So tunafuatilia, tunaona hizi nyama kweli zinaweza kuwa zinaenda wapi, na huko mashinani kabisa haziwezi kuuziwa huko ndani. Na sisi tunakuwa tunashughulikia masoko kubwa. Punda tayari zinakuliwa, hata kama watu wako wanajua nakula, tayari zinakuliwa.
Sasa ile kitu inafanyika, watu wakule funda, wanakula funda kwa ajili ya njaa. Kama si njaa, mtu hawezi kula funda. Nakula funda kwa ajili ya njaa.
The closure of donkey slaughterhouses in the country has led to the rise of illegal donkey slaughter in the bushes. This is because donkey skin is highly valued in international market and traders are willing to go great length to obtain it. According to James Munyoki from Indades Formation, a non-government organization, many Kenyans might be consuming donkey meat without knowing.
We noted that majority of the donkeys that were slaughtered in Limuru, in a Ndeia sub-county, may have originated from our counties. And therefore we appeal that any permit that is being issued for movement of animals, including donkeys, should be very clear, categorical in terms of the details of the buyer, the destination, and the numbers of the donkeys that are being supplied or transported, or any animal that is being transported. It is very clear that the donkeys that were slaughtered in Ndeia sub-county, and not only that, we also suspecting that there could be also slaughtering of donkeys in and within the counties that we are operating, and the meat may be ending up in our plates without our knowledge.
Tukingojea ikufe ikiwa huku mashinani inakuwa ni shida sana hata kuzika, kwa sababu kuchimba kaburi ya punda ni sawa tu na kuchimba kaburi ya mwanadamu, kwa sababu inatakiwa punda izikwe pale chini kabisa, ndio maumbo wasije wakatoa hiyo mchanga wakakula hiyo nyama, sababu wakikula hiyo ngozi, wakikula nyama hiyo watakula pamoja na ngozi, na hiyo ngozi itaweza kufanya kuua mbwa.
Donkey experts from organizations like Brook East Africa have indicated that over 1,000 donkeys might have been slaughtered secretly, posing a risk to many Kenyans who might be consuming donkey meat without knowing.
And so any slaughter of donkeys that is happening is in breach of that statement that the minister issued. And so when you look at the slaughter at the moment, there's nowhere in this country you'll go and you'll find a donkey butchery. But donkeys are being slaughtered. And so the question of food fraud needs to be answered. Consumer protection needs to be answered. And so you realize that people are consuming donkeys not knowing, because that meat is not labeled. And because there are no licensed slaughterhouses, that meat is not slaughtered in licensed premises. Those premises are not inspected. Those animals are not inspected before slaughter. And so they could be carrying all sorts of diseases, including rabies, anthrax, African horse sickness, and all sorts of other diseases that could also affect humans. The people who are doing those the slaughter of donkeys in the bushes, they are also exposing themselves to so many other diseases that could jump from the animals to the humans. And so it's a caution to the public. Know the meat that you are consuming.
It has been a journey of 5 days fact-finding mission all the way from Matu, Kithioko, Mwingi, Kabati, and here at Kisii in Kitui. But the writing is on the wall. You might be feeding on a donkey meat, secretly sneaked in to the market. Nicholas Mbai, TV47, Kisii, Kitui County.
All right, and from that very interesting piece right there, it is now time that we take a quick short break and then we come back to the conversation on standby. We have Professor right here, Fred Gola. Thank you so much, Professor, for creating time to be with us. The conversation is always here, and I'm delighted that we have Kenyans that have purposed to have this, because it's on rare occasions that you'll get people who are bold enough. But above everything, we are thankful that we have this space to speak to the issues that are here. So karibu sana. Good morning.
Thank you very much,
Asante sana. Daktari, ulipotea sana wiki mbili sijakuona. How have you been?
Well, we've still building the nation, engaging on issues, very positive, that things are looking up. This is where we must focus on. We are doing things differently.
Right.
We must build a foundation.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of time, a bit of here and there, but things are going to look up. The foundation we are setting up is foundation not for just 2-3 years, not looking at the next election, but the next generation. That is what is very key at the heart of the president.
And we're crossing fingers, because the next generation is largely our kids, our kids. We can only hope that we leave them a better country. I would have wished to hear your view on this China, Kenya row. And I'm saying this because I know you have been keen, especially on the question of the economy and how we get to this aspect of industrialization, manufacturing, and businesses in the country. And last week I didn't have you here. Last week, but one, I don't think I had you here.
No,
that is when the conversation was heated.
It's last week is when I was
last
not
week,
here.
The conversation was heated.
No.
It was in China. You must have been there. When are you opening back? Because vitu zinaharibika huko bwana. Unajua sasa vitu zinaharibika huko na tunataka kununua hizo.
It's very simple. We have no problem with anything. The only issue we have, we are welcoming investors here as manufacturers, not traders.
Is it not going to get to a time when we'll want our people as well to be manufacturers? Then what happens in such a case? Because that is basically what we want. You do not want to come up with professionals that are not, being used. They're not being. The whole
story we are saying here. All nations in the world, all countries in the world, their first duty is protect locals. You have heard of America first. You have heard of other countries. Go to any, just in Africa.
Yes.
You never see foreigners doing things that can be done by locals. Even in Ethiopia here, they have categories of investors. You cannot do hotels in Ethiopia.
Right.
You cannot. You only allowed to do FDI, foreign direct investment, at a certain level. At some level, you can merge with the locals, but there are some things you cannot do. So what we are saying, we have no problem at all. But the problem we have here is these Chinese who are setting shop here as retailers, they are the ones who have been supplying our people in China. Then they have cut all those people off for them to be traders. We are saying thank you very much. You are welcome. We are signing deals every day with Chinese who are coming here for 2 reasons. Once the Chinese comes and manufactures those things here, you give employment to our people. But the moment you go and buy those things there, that employment goes to the person who is manufacturing that thing back in China. Number 2, you never see that money, because all this money goes back to China. So what we are saying is, we have no problem. We love to be, we are diplomatically, we are mature, we are aware that we have to be good relations with the countries, but kindly, when it comes to some issues, we are just saying, we love you very much, it's okay. There's a lot of good relations, we are happy in all these countries, but please, come and manufacture here, so that because of technology transfer, because of FDI, because of this issue of dollars, otherwise we are going to put all our money there. It goes back and it's going to come back.
Just a second, Professor. Mr. Director, you want us to take a short break? Mr. Director?
We should not take a short break after that line.
Yes, I'm told we have to take that one and then we come back. We're just going to come back on the very same one and ask him, where were they when all this was happening? Perhaps they're going to say it's the previous government. And ask him, it is not them that raised or blew the whistle. It was the trader himself or herself that blew the whistle. Why is it that now the government is running with this? Let's take a short break and then we come back to that.
mate maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
You to go back to the table and say, this we can take, this we can adapt, this we can drop for the betterment of this. You suppose that we are on the right trajectory? The Deputy President said we wait for 3 weeks. I think week gone, we're still waiting.
Yeah. So Linda, first of all, with all due respect, let's first of all put it very clearly. I am an economist, I'm a strategy expert, I'm a governance expert, and that's what makes me. Taking other views which are meant to keep Kenyans out of knowing the truth is not what I will take. I'm willing to pay any price. Even if it comes to losing a job, I'm willing to lose my job. You know, the truth must be said, and the truth shall set us free. And anything to do with the truth is not what we are getting from this government. So first of all, let me go to Nyamakinywa's story, the issue of China Square. I think the CS got that thing wrong.
Yeah.
He didn't understand what were the context of the China Square, Nyamakimwa, and all those things. First of all, you had here Honorable former governor of Kiambu, Kabogo, saying he bought a product at half the price from China Square compared to what he has originally been buying, meaning that he's not just alone. There are so many Kenyans who would buy something from China Square at half of the price where they're getting it. So what does that mean? You know, Kenyans are 85% traders. That's true. All the clothes we are putting on here, if we bought them in Kenya, the shoes, the second-hand clothes, the second-hand shoes, all those second-hand bicycles, name, even utensils, the kitchen, everything, Kenyans are trading them. Originally, they would go, for example, to Singapore, they would be able to go to Thailand, they would be able to go to Turkey, they would be able to go to China, and buy them, import them, and bring into the country, then resell them to Kenyans, which was good. But now, if China Square could bring them at half the price than China Square, why should a Kenyan go to China in Guangzhou to bring one, all that transport, logistics, and you know, also the dollar has gone up, which means the cost of purchasing these products from abroad to bring them to China, to Nyamakimwa and resell them is high. Why don't we just cross over to China Square, buy them, no transport, no clearing and forwarding, easy process, and resell them? Now, the basic thing is that there are two different types of people in this ecosystem. There are those who are going to China, buy in bulk, distribute to some Kenyans to sell. Those people, their business is hurt by their business were being hurt by China Square. So they are not happy with China Square. But those who used to get the goods from these wholesalers, who are Kenyans going to China to bring them, they have no problem because they can still get them from China Square, resell them, and make the same profit. In fact, the fact that Chinese are not going to pay in dollars and the dollar has gone up, in fact, they are more competitive to make the goods coming to Kenya at a less cheaper price than any Kenyan can do, because the dollar has moved, thanks to Kenya Kwanza, from 115 thereabout to almost 140. So importation becomes very expensive. Yeah. So this is the scenario there. So by them trying to think they are salvaging Kenyans by disrupting China, actually they have disrupted so many people's businesses from those areas that they have no idea. The economics says that what you cannot be good at, don't waste a lot of time on. Let Kenya Kwanza, first of all, make Kenyan competitive in that area without just going to make noise in the street. In fact, the people who are demonstrating in the streets are not the real people. Those people are not the real culprits. So for that matter, that's one point. The second point I want to bring across, the Minister for Trade, that is Moses Kuria, has become a marketing strategist for China Square, either without knowledge or with knowledge. Indirectly, this is because going to work in favor every Kenyan knows China Square now. Yeah. That's a marketing strategy. Because eventually maybe they'll resolve to open it back. Yes. One of the most difficult things you have in this country is getting a marketing space. China Square has got so much airtime that no one has ever been able to afford to buy. So with that, everybody knows, and Kabogo's point is that I bought at half the price. Let me tell you what, Linda. If you want to buy something, where are you going to go first? China Square. Yeah. And that's a marketing strategy for China Square. Now, do you know what will happen? A stupid person like any businessman will go and call this thing another name. Partner with the Chinese and call it Fred Ogola Limited or Fred Ogola Square. And then the same business model, Chinese help them to put the things there and sell at the price of China Square. Yeah. So just but largely, you know very well that even setting up a business, especially when you are coming from a different country, you're a foreigner, most of the times, and actually this is a standard, I think, that you should be having at least a shareholder from. Yes, in fact, the question has raised, who owns China Square? And I would tell you without a doubt, there is a hand in somebody in government that owns China Square. Either the previous government or the current government. And most likely the current government. Let's forget about China Square for now so they see the issue of objectivity here. Do you know how Coca-Cola became famous in Africa? Coca-Cola went to every country, took somebody connected in government and gave them shares. So look at when people talk about from charcoal to gold, isn't it? So you know those people. Who was the former minister of assistant minister for internal defense? The one who passed away, isn't it? You know him. Some of them made their money through these multinationals. They were connected in government. They were given shares. They all know how to sort out people in government and became rich. Multinationals have done that thing. And China Square is not an exception. That has also happened. While Kenyans, they are being cheated, how government is sorting them out, these people are enriching themselves. So Kenyans need to know very well that the ownership of China Square should be disclosed. The issue of disclosure of ownership is not something new. In Safaricom, when shares were being sold, there was somebody called Mobitelea. Mobitelea, until today, no one knows who he is, who owns Mobitelea, who is. So all these things, Kenyans are not being told the truth. To tell you the truth, Kenyans, you are dying of hunger today. You are clothless today. You have no money for your food today. If you can get it from China Square, that's your solution. When these guys are waiting to address the long-term things, you'll be dead. I've heard about Dr. Mbai talking about, let's give them time. Yeah. Linda, you cannot tell someone to wait when they're hungry. And they are dying of hunger today. Yeah. So why didn't we look for short-term solutions that helps Kenyans as we look for long-term solutions and see that cost of living is going down, school fees is going down, healthcare is going down. Let things, first of all, sort out Kenyans who are dying. There's drought. Yeah. Those are not priorities. If you cannot sort out the banditry issue, let us sort out what is hurting Kenyans now. The trade issue can be sorted out with a long-term strategy. Perhaps to just close on this one because, well, it's one that we have discussed and we can only wait to see what the government does.
3 weeks to discuss this, to deliberate on this. Just how deep-rooted, how complicated that we have gone into this space.
Quickly, because Professor has digressed to another issue, I want to restate here because we have been accused of, telling Kenyans to wait. Please, let's be very clear. When President came in, the first few days, in the issue of subsidizing production, a lot of fertilizer came in. Today, fertilizer came for planting, but there is tons and tons of maize and unga being imported to subsidize the prices. Please, let's be very clear. Sometimes when you talk untruths for 2 minutes and you allow it hovering around here, people begin believing the untruths. Let's be very, very, and we want those people who are keen on correcting government. Let's be factual. We are saying already as we speak, there is a lot of maize, 4 million bags. There is cooking oil and rice. For the meantime, before the fertilizer that is being that's being distributed right now, the production happens in August. That's what the government is doing, and that's what the government does. That's number one. Let's go back to this issue. I want to say this, Linda. First of all, nobody crossed China Square. Nobody, not the CS, not the government. The people responsible just closed it. And they said, even as we are waiting for it to be closed on Monday. But they said they are going to close it too. Maybe what they had said they are going to do is still taking time. They said they are going to reorganize and put in the local component. Maybe that's number one. Nobody closed it. Number two, there's no harm with what happens, Linda. It is the traders or the Kenyans who raise issues, then government picks it up. So that was in order. It is them because they're aware of the shoe, right? They said it, and then government picked it up in the manner and form that it was picked up. Now, celebrating that somebody got half price, that's not wrong. But please, let's understand the whole concept in a nutshell, that this is a situation. The gentleman or the traders there, they are the ones who have been supplying Kenyans in that chain, okay? Kenyans come, they pick that luggage rather, they pay tax. Then they come in, it's a chain up to the person who wears that cloth, for example, or those whatever. And there are many chains, by the way, electronics, clothes, auto and all that, spare parts,
Yeah.
Then the gentleman who does it colludes with some traders, some people in Kenya, sorry to say, gives permit to people who are not supposed to be given permit to trade as traders, who are foreigners. They come in, cut all those layers of Kenyans, including taxes. Remember what happens in China. If you want money for export, you are given money. So your cost has to come down, right? You are given money by China, for example. I'm giving an example of China. Anybody who is going to export their products, there is a lot of rebates given. So that definitely that thing has to come here very cheap, right? Now, if you go to China, where every Kenyan goes to buy, you cannot meet the manufacturer. You cannot. You deal with that person who is there. It is only Chinese who knows where the manufacturer is. So that you deal with that person, the chain starts from there. Yeah. So there are people here who have cut everybody else, cutting everybody, running away with the taxes, running away with the technology transfer. We are giving those people jobs and celebrating, saying, oh, thank you so much for the cheap price. And finally, all the money we are taking to China Square is all put together, going back to another country. Please, let me say this out of moderation, because we enjoy very good relations, not just with China, but all countries in the world. Kenya is known to be very friendly, right? I want to say that from the word go. And there's no what I call disparity in speech between the several arms of government. What MFA said, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is true, that we want to enjoy and we have no problem with anybody, because it's a work to make sure the diplomatic ties are maintained. Or what we are saying, please, let us be fair. Let us be fair. You cannot have a Kenyan going to any other country to do what other people are doing here. And we are not pinpointing anybody. We are saying we have to go back, strengthen immigration laws to know who is to be around in Kenya, strengthen our laws on investments to know who can invest in Kenya at what level. I don't want to comment about who owns the other 90%. I don't like talking about things I am not sure. Or what I know, I've heard also. There are people who are behind that Chinese, who did all what they are doing to make Kenyans, to cut thousands and hundreds of people, hundreds and thousands of traders, who depend on that value chain the way it was supposed to be. You are a supplier from China. You decide to be a retailer.
Yeah.
So what are we saying? You spoke about 3 weeks. Yes, there was a high-level meeting hosted by the deputy president, and he met, all those people that were there, and I was there representing the CS, who is out of the country, and they gave out all their views. And the deputy president said, give us some time. But there's something he said very profound. A lot of things, when you tell government, they don't come and announce 10, 20 things to do. They do. They're just done. If there's a problem, just fix it. You don't have to come and say, we are going to do. Maybe even we speak right now, some of those things are being done as we speak, because it's just a matter of tightening bolts and nuts and making sure that if there was a rope, if there was some gap, it is fixed and this gone. What is important? The business of this, the business of this government, like all other governments in the whole world, is protect their traders.
I will overlook all the talk that has been here, that there's an external hand to this. I will overlook the ramifications that come with that as pertaining to how we now interact further, like you said, with the global fraternity. I will overlook all those questions and rest it at this very point, and for us to get into a different conversation.
Yes, please.
Because that would be a Pandora's box as well. And especially when you say that you were there representing the CS, then we know you speak in your capacity as part and parcel of the government. So
but just 1 minute, Linda, that this Kenya Kwanza government say they are Kenya Kwanza, but there's a trend they're becoming Kenya wait government. Okay. Because wait 3 weeks. I think, Deputy President, before you have a meeting with such like people, you have intelligence. You cannot meet and say we shall meet. I'm sure his time is premium. As a Deputy President, he's a busy man. You gather all the information, intelligence, and make a decision.
Then call the people to...
Here is Kenya wait government. Kenya wait government. We cannot have a Kenya wait government. Kenyans are not waiting on empty stomach. Then the business being disrupted, there are people who have lost income, they are also suffering. And of course, I also want to close the thing by saying, it is good for us to know that China has made Kenya its strategy. And China has just announced, like over the weekend, they announced to grow their economy by 7%, 5% growth. And they are looking at this growth coming from Africa. So what I want to tell Kenya Kwanza government that let us be very wary. I hope if we go the way of policy rather than the ways of making quick decisions that are hurting people, I think if you take the route of making policy, those are long-term things, trade policy, immigration policy, they'll help to execute much better than doing knee-jerk reaction whereby someone says, let's take their goods, then they say, let's return them back. When a government makes moves like that, China Square can sue the government for having confiscated their goods without following the procedure. Who loses the money? Is the taxpayers' money that could have helped us. So I'm saying this shows you very well that Kenya Kwanza doesn't have that decorum to make the right choices when should be done. Knee-jerk reactions is like a government unprepared to deliver.
No, I mean, we don't want to go back there. I mean, we are here to say things as they are, and we have to say this every day, morning, breakfast, lunch and dinner, so that these people can understand. There were about 12 heads of department in that meeting. They came to reason. We cannot be also a government that wants to please people and begin saying, we have announced, we have said. Government, its work is to do. It's not so much to go and address this.
So let's wait for 3 weeks and hear what they say.
What they're going to
I think we have closed it like
Thank you so much. Please, it's not about weight, it's about functionality.
Government.
It's about functionality and moving on. And please, just for record, nobody crossed China Square.
Yeah, that is clear. That is clear. And I mean, they released the communication as to why they had decided to take that.
And we are not blaming anybody.
Let us wait.
Let us wait.
And on this one leader, we are not blaming anybody. We are acting.
Okay.
Whatever happened, it's our responsibility to fix.
Yes.
So we are not going to say, oh, somebody allowed people in. Whether they did or not, we are fixing it.
Kenyans are waiting.
All right. So, gentlemen, there's this story that has been captured in the papers this morning. And it's not just about the fact that it's been captured there, but it's a report on the question of employment in the country. It says KNBS data also helpful to tertiary institutions and students. And the question here is where to find a job. They say over the past decade, more job opportunities were created in the construction, public administration, as well as defense. education sectors, and that data by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows even the country continues to grapple with biting unemployment and massive job losses. A story captured on page 6 and page 7. Then down there, they speak of Kenya's wage employment by industry and sector from 2012 to 2021. But what is a bit, and I don't want to say disturbing, is what is captured on the actual paper when you go to it. And it says, this is on page 6 and 7 of the Daily Nation. Professor, if I was close to you, I'd have given you this because I have the soft copy.
Oh, yeah.
But all the same, Lesia Daviso, kindly help us get this to the professor. And we're talking about 2 communities hogging state jobs, according to a new report. Oh, we're good. So 2 communities hogging state jobs. A new report says that it's about the Kalenjins and about the Kikuyu they make up the biggest chunk of employees in all agencies. The very same report speaks to, the sectors of employing Kenyans. Education employed a total of 609 and 200,000, and of course 2021 up from 384,000, that is in 2012, and translating to about 25,000 up. And so what do you make of this, Professor? First of all, this is one thing that is quite disturbing. And for a long time, we have thought that maybe even when one of your own is at the top, you do not get to benefit. How can we confidently say that this is a fair and square process of employment without looking at the individuals that have occupied the State House right from the time of independence? Because this then would be speaking to that reality, that perhaps these were being conducted on basis of tribalism and on basis of having your very own at the top.
Yeah, first of all, fellow Kenyans, let's first of all look at what is the ideal situation that should happen before we go into the main context. The ideal situation in most countries that are developed, people don't look at jobs from community angle. People look at meritocracy. Do these people deserve those jobs where they are? And if there's any community which is, let's say, disadvantaged in terms of getting these jobs, if it is meritocracy, what could be the strategic measures to empower those communities? For example, if you go to Turkana, if you find there are less Turkanans in government because they don't merit, because education went to Turkana 40 days after independence, 40 years after independence, meaning that by sure Turkanans will find difficulty, the Pokot and name it. See now that area that those banditry is taking place.
Yeah.
If we know that meritocracy is the way to get to government, and it is clear that if you deserve something, you get into those positions, then instead of just trying to bring you to government, just to bring your tribe, we give some policy measures to empower you to access jobs. That should be the ideal situation.
Okay.
But now, what is our context in the country? The context in the country is that there are some communities that have ruled Kenya for longer. And like now, what is happening in the Kenya Kwanza government is that you see a lot of replacement of people being taken to different positions in different institutions by the current government. So Kenyans have been more tribalized, and these positions are highly tribalized, and therefore, even the Constitution talks about the face of Kenya. So given that the Constitution even sees the issue of face of Kenya, that means this is something we have to deal with and find a quota system on which, for example, if you go to jobs like AU, AU is made of many countries in Africa. They say if you have employed so many people from Ethiopia in a certain position, the quota for Ethiopia is closed so that you can open the one of Eritrea, Uganda, Kenya, this way. So you can come with a quota system to try to mitigate the issue, because what I'm trying to tell you, Linda, and my friend Dr. Mbai, if we go where institutions and functions focus, we remove tribal and remove individuals.
Right.
So what we can be asking, for example, after this report has been given, thanks to Daily Nation, what is the strategy to try to address this issue, and how can we bring this happening? But in the current context, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to tell Kenya Kwanza anything wrong, but this is a fact, that I've studied a lot how the president makes the decision, how Rigathi Gachagua makes his decisions, which means those are the top officials in the government. they don't see institutions, they see individuals. You know, when you see institutions, for example, Kenya Power, you see like Central Bank. If you see them as institutions, you don't have to worry whether your guy is in charge of it. You should just get a Kenyan that merits it and head the institution. But currently, the president and his deputy does not see institutions, they see individuals. In Parliament, I have Moses Wetangula. In KRA, I have so-and-so. If we move away from there, we shall clean this. Because if you heard the speech was given by Deputy President, that's on fact again, Dr. Ambai will ask for evidence, he said, Kenya is like a company, they are shareholders. Yeah. So is this the report from the shareholder? Because you see, if Kikuyus and the Kalenjins have been the only two communities that have had head of state since independence, and these numbers reflect that it's skewed towards them, it shows that the previous administration, all of them, we don't want to sympathize with any of them. All of the two, all the governments have never seen the way to bring what's called inequality. But Linda, again, without talking too much about the issue of making these things personalized and tribalized, the best thing to always look at is the government creating, the question should be asked, is the government creating opportunities, equal opportunities, access to employment and development? If that is the case, then you can say this and that community may have cultural issues or reasons why they're not moving there. Is there equal opportunity in employment, in business and everything? The issue is not. And Singapore said they are not here to equalize outcomes, meaning I don't want to know how many people have gotten jobs from which region, but our work is to equalize opportunities so that every Kenyan, any child born, Linda, I'm sure that your children, your grandchildren want to wake up in Kenya knowing that if I work hard and follow this path in education, I will get a job, rather than I also have to be politically right. But we put it clearly that if you didn't vote for us, then I'll take you out of the queue. Then this creates this kind of impression, and I think that there should be a corrective measures. And I like this report. What we're waiting for is what will the people responsible gonna do about this report.
All right, allow us to take a quick short break, and then we come back, listen to Malala, and this in relation to what you say. When he says now, if you are to enjoy the best of this, how about you adjust, fold your parties into UDA, you know, and when you see this report, what does it make you feel? Perhaps you could be exonerated because it's that aspect of the previous government, but then again, you are in power. What forms of adjustments have been done on this very matter? Because we have acknowledged that we've also seen adjustments done by the president in terms of shifting people, others losing their jobs, others being brought on board to the boards. It would be good to hear from you, Dr. But allow us to take a quick short break. Come back to that.
Stories.
Hey! Kaluma King Herbal Lozenges zinazo nguvu maradufu kutuliza kikohozi, vidonda vya koo na mafua. Kaluma King ni shwari.
Tika mama huyo muharifu kaiba kuku zangu, vifaranga wangu na mayai zote pia kabeba. Haya, tika mama huyo.
Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
Tunawajua kwa majukumu yao. Wanapotumikia wananchi katika afisi zao, tunawafahamu. Wanapoingia katika majengo haya kutunga sheria, tunaelewa. Lakini je, tunafahamu safari yao ya maisha na walipotoka?
If you build a good relationship with the people on the ground and you're a person, there are people who will be loyal to you and they cannot be changed by anybody.
I feel that this is the direction. This is where God is leading you to.
Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kutangamana nao kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutuku.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
While brushing, the technique of brushing is very important.
Question, is there any cure for the hypertension? And the answer is yes.
Here, your health matters. So the cells just grow without any form of control.
If you have career goals, then you must have health goals.
Vaginal candidiasis, meaning that's a fungal infection.
We help you achieve that at Body Garage. Join me every Thursday at 8 p.m.
Welcome back to the broadcast, and two gentlemen send their apologies this morning that have wished to be here with us, but for other reasons they will not, and so we say apologies accepted. Wakili, I hope you could fix what it is that you intend to, as expected, as well as Honorable member of Yala, is a member of Yala, right? That is Honorable Sankok, who was supposed to join us virtually, a bit of a technical hitch. But in the event that we successfully get a hold of him, you can be sure that he will join us for this. In studio with me, Professor Fred Ogola, as well as Dr. Peter Mbai. And Dr. Peter Mbai, it becomes a delicate balance. And especially when we're talking about who occupies what space in the space of employment, and when we're also talking about merit. And now that we've mentioned something to do with Yala, you have heard many saying that, oh, these ones who are politicians will always want to enrich their own by taking their very own to these very positions. But we keep saying that if it is by merits or on merits, I think it should be fair. Do you suppose that such reports are necessary when we are looking at a time where we are angling to see the spaces of employment opened for every Kenyan, when we're looking at the Constitution speaks of the need to have regional balance, the need to have gender balance, the need to incorporate the vulnerables of society in such spaces?
I'd want to say two things. One, this report comes because of some requirement in the Act, the National Cohesion Act that says that these reports have to come out. I want to have to say two things.
Yeah.
Let us not go back to so much speak to our children about you belong to this community. Mm-hmm. Let us not at this age. And if you remember that clip that used to pray about Mwalimu Nyerere, asking Tanzanian, even now you're talking about tribes. Kindly, I would want to urge, number one, the moment you begin telling your kid that if you don't belong to this community, you have no future. That's a big thing that we must avoid. Having said that, too, I would want to say that when the Act is very clear, no more than a third of staff from the same community, that is Section 7.1 and 7.2 of the Act, the National Cohesion and Integration Act. In the TSC, out of 2,842 of a secretariat, Kikuyus are at 545. That is less than a third. I don't know what is meant to be created by this story. I have done my maths. It's very simple calculation. It's less than a third. So where is the issue? Because if you say it's a third, the secretariat also, the secretariat TSC is 1,077 people. A third of that is 323. Because everybody wants to hear about Kikuyus and Kalenjins, Kikuyus are only 316. It's less than a third. Okay. So where is the rule broken? We want to do, but we before going to the details, we already throw stones. And let me ask you, I would want in future, once these reports are done, Linda, let's have a table showing 2019 census. How many are Kikuyus in Kenya? Kalenjins, Bambas, Luos, up to the 45th community, right? Let me call them community. There's nothing I avoid myself in my life as something called tribe. That it actually should be removed from any talk in this country. It denotes something very bad. But if we must talk about communities because we have an act, not unless it's repealed, it's a law, can we get a summary of what's the population by 2019 census? So that when you're talking about who gets where, we have an idea. But the law is not broken. Nowhere have I seen Kikuyus or Kalenjin of these communities saying that they have more than 30%. That's the second point I want to make very clearly. And so, finally, kindly, I want to urge those people who are saying, even in the marginalized communities and all that, there are people who have gone to school. We want to encourage them. Thank you very much. Please, can we have master plan? Let the leaders in those areas continue educating their girls and their boys. This is a national table. This is a national cake. I was talking to Professor here, and we have agreed with him. He is where he is by merit. He is here by merit, pure. I don't think there are opportunities I have ever gotten myself because I come from a certain community. So can we please encourage our people? Let's have more of those, what we call marginalized and small communities, getting their kids, invest in education so that next time there are places where they have experience enough where they can get into commissions, they can get into these other communities. I think that is a more positive way of thinking we should be encouraging. Other than being drawn, I think some of these laws, if you are not careful, they can tie us to begin thinking backwards instead of going forward. Well, if you are not very careful. So to me, well, it's in the act, the report is here, but let's not be over emotional about this. It's very clear. Next time, and I think somebody needs to amend this law. Don't whip people's emotions by talking about Kikuyus and Kalenjins and others, but you're not telling us how many are there in Kenya. If you go to prisons, what's the biggest number? Let's get all these statistics then. Let's get the number of people in mortuaries, in hospitals, those people who are attending in courts, those people at NYS, the people in prisons, so that we have a better, if you want to discuss about communities and who they are and where they are, opportunities they are getting, let's get be leveled.
Professor, I know you want to say something. How can you not get worried when the Constitution is very clear that there is need for us to have regional balance on every other matter that we're speaking to? How can Kenyans not get worried?
Yeah, if you allow me, Linda, what I want to say is that, first of all, I want to tell Dr. Mbai, let him not be emotional about this matter. There are some things I wish my father told me. My father never told me that having a name O will define my future in this way. There are some things. Has it? Yes, it is. Like you see, for example, when I mention something on Twitter, they say he's Ogola. You understand? You don't expect. This is what it is. You can spend time lying. I've never told my child that you are a Luo, because even his name has that O. But what I'm trying to tell my child that work hard, because at the top there's no queue. You understand? If you are well qualified, there's no queue, so tribe will not be an issue. But how many Kenyans can be professors? When you tell me I got my job through merit, how many people are professors in Kenya? At that level, there's no queue, so there's no discussion. You are Dr. Mbai. There's no queue at the top. But we are talking about somebody in Kwale who is disadvantaged, who will work in construction as a garbage picker. How many people in Kenya qualify to pick garbage? There are so many. And therefore, we need balance at certain level. These are honest things. Even in the US, there's discussion about Hispanics, the white American, the black American. That conversation is everywhere. Let's not Kenyanize it. And the fathers of the Constitution saw there is a need for this face of Kenya. And that's why they said, without having affirmative action and putting it in the Constitution works. Now, when you tell me that Kalenjins and Kikuyus are just slightly below a third, Now, are they a third of the country? They are not.
They're not.
But also, if you tell me about, you talk about mortuary numbers and prison numbers, those are not economic numbers. Here, income, employment has a correlation with economic development.
Yeah.
So we cannot bring statistics about prison because you can't tell me there's a high correlation between the number of people in prison and economic development. That is hogwash. You are misleading people.
Well,
let us use
they
economic.
say some of the best furniture.
Yes.
You know, and those ones for governments are, you know, from prisons.
But you see, prison,
yeah.
the number of people prisoned cannot be having a correlation with economic development. Let's talk about development issues.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what can make people. No one wants to be in prison. If at all the government of Kenya sees that being in prison is good, let them have a policy on how many people they want to imprison so that we can see whether that will bring development in Kenya or not. Let's not.
All right, let's listen.
And then just the other thing to bring out perspectively.
Make it very brief.
If you look at the number of Luos who are there, who are in these jobs, they say Luos come in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, number 6, isn't it? Now, if we want to talk about numbers, Luos have got a big history of high education. This is a fact. That's why they said if you throw a stone in Game or in Siaya or in whatever area like Kisumu, you'd hit a professor, isn't it?
Yeah.
How comes the academic merit of Luos does not show in employment? So I am qualified, yes.
Okay.
If I was a Kikuyu or a Kalenjin, would I just be a lecturer earning below 100,000 shillings as salary? You know what I mean? So my qualification does not merit. Linda, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Someone with 5 undergraduate degrees, 2 masters, a PhD, 16 international certification with World Bank is sitting here to discuss about how Kenya Kwanza is getting the economy wrong.
No.
Why is he not in a position to make decisions that can help? But let's talk about merit here.
Yeah.
So when you talk about merit here, Luos by the level of education and merit they have gotten over the years, I don't see a correlation with how many jobs they are getting in these sectors.
Okay.
So what we are trying to say here, if it's meritocracy is not what is being followed. Because look here, Matiang'i, the guys of Matiang'i, Professor Magoha, was in education, isn't it?
Yeah.
Matiang'i was a professor. Look at the qualification of Professor Magoha, isn't it? Now compare with the current CS of education. Were we supposed to get someone either equal to Magoha or get someone who is slightly more qualified than Magoha to advance education, or we get less qualified and talk about political expediency? And to finish the matter all, this government of Kenya Kwanza is, the wage bill is heavy on cronies, loyalists and friends, less heavy on Kenya, and therefore it cannot qualify to be called Kenya Kwanza. Thanks to Malala has put it clearly that it's a UDA government, not a Kenya Kwanza government.
Let's allow us to listen to Malala and then we come back to get your response, Daktari.
Pili, nyinyi mumesikia rais wetu na naibu wa rais wameanza kufanya maendeleo, lakini iko majamaa wengine hapo kando wanawasumbua. Ati wanasema ati bei ya maisha imepanda. Hao wanasema bei ya maisha imepanda, lakini yule mtu ambaye anauza gas Kenya nzima peke yake ni Raila Amolo Odinga. Kampuni ya gas, wewe Raila, ukitaka kuregesha bei ya maisha chini, anza na kushukisha gasi yako wewe kwanza chini, ndio tujue wewe uko na nguvu. Mtu wa pili ambaye anasema maisha imepanda ni yule mtu ambaye anauza maziwa yeye peke yake Kenya nzima. Yule mtu ambaye ndio mwenye maziwa Kenya nzima anaitwa Uhuru Kenyatta. Sasa wewe Uhuru Kenyatta ambaye wewe ndio kiongozi wa Azimio, ukitaka kuregesha maisha ya wananchi chini, anza na kushukisha maziwa yako ya Brookside kwanza, ndio tujue umko serious na mambo ya kuregesha bei ya maisha chini. Ama mimi naongea vibaya jameni? Rais wetu na naibu
Ama Malala ameongea vibaya?
No, wait. There are two things, Linda. We want to be very, very clear.
Yeah.
I am a great respecter for merit. And that's how Kenya should go forward. Let's not take out of time consuming reports that were done, previous years.
Yeah.
This is a new administration, and the president is very clear that he is a symbol of national unity, that he is a president for all Kenyans. Let's be very clear on that one. Let's not take out of time chewing reports that were done many years, that refer to periods before this. Number two, I'd want to encourage, and Professor, we wouldn't want to sit here, begin feeling that there are some communities feeling left out. We want to encourage going forward, all government agencies and everybody else. If you have been given an opportunity of leadership, kindly, just know that Kenya is for all people in terms of recruitment going forward. Merit, capacity, skills, qualification, that goes with that opportunity. And that
have we moved from that phase that Professor speaks of, that your name could actually disadvantage you or advantage you, depending on how
Linda, that is the worst statement we'd want to hear in the 21st century. Completely, because what are we telling?
But is it not a fact?
What are we telling that kid growing up in Yala today? What are we telling that kid? What are we saying? Please, and especially coming from professor level, we should discourage. And by the way, Linda, we are here talking about the future. I personally have no time to sit here talking about the past. We are here to better this country. And so I want to appeal to all of us, even those of us who are watching us. Please let us talk about, we are here moving forward, how do we better Kenya in terms of employment, in terms of opportunities and all that. So
that's my question. Have we gotten to that space where we can confidently say it's not about
I want to say this without fear or contradiction, because I know the heart of the president. He is the president. He is very acutely aware that he is here to serve Kenyans for a time. At the time that he is going to be serving Kenyans, he wants to make a difference. He wants to make a change in terms of all these other issues, where everybody else will feel like Kenyan. The only thing I want to, my parting on this report, because we have gone on one part. If you look at the areas, if you look at the public sector wage employment by industry and sector, the only thing I want to pick, private sector up there, they are more on industry, or more on manufacturing, agriculture, wholesale, and like that. But you look at public sector, manufacturing is below there. One thing I'd want to assure, we'd want to see more public government engagement on manufacturing, raising manufacturing level to GDP. Those are the conversations.
And the Kenya Kwanza, the same manufacturing that you're saying investors should come and invest
as manufacturers. Thank you so much. Not as traders. That is it. Because we want to increase manufacturing to GDP. That's how you grow economy. That's how you create jobs. Linda, that is what we have been talking about here. We must find some, what you would call infrastructure to naturally raise GDP to manufacturing, enhance exports from 10% to 30%, increase all this FDI, foreign direct investments. That's how jobs are going to be created. And that is the heart of the president and, for example, the big ministry of trade and investments that's been given to do. So yes, what I want to assure is that in the public sector, in the next 1 year, manufacturing will be at the top there. One of the biggest.
And I had a conversation with some gentlemen over the weekend, and it was in relation to where we've gotten it wrong, where we are. And they agree with you that the conversation should be on the question of industrialization, it should be on the question of manufacturing. Professor, you've been here long enough. They were trying to remind me, or perhaps tell me, because I feel like I am not part of that generation, or so they felt, and they were telling me, they were trying to name the industries that we had then, right from the size of Western Kenya, the Mumias of today that we keep talking about, coming all the way to Nakuru and all the way to Nairobi, going to Thika, speaking of how we have lost these industries. We've seen them going down. Yet the conversation today is how we can get into the aspect of industrialization. Just what is this that we are doing? How do we get ourselves back there, without having to struggle so hard to try and revive Mumias Sugar, which appears like it's not working, and, pumping money, nothing coming out. Or how do we bring up new industries that really will hold? Because it seems like, economically speaking, should be the conversation.
Linda, first of all, let me confess that I wish someone gave me a chance to really tell you guys in Kenya what you need to do. Because there are so many misnomers around.
Professor, and I believe that this is the best chance.
Yeah, so that I'm giving you what I would tell you now. According to me as an economist, let me first of all just tell you how a country grows in economic terms. The first form of any economic activity is hunting and gathering, where you pick fruits and guavas and the rest and eat. No one charges you. After that, we go to agrarian economy, where now we go to agriculture. But because agriculture has no value addition, economic thinking, the current economic thinking shows you need to move to manufacturing because they know the output is very high, salaries will go up, so economy grows. So it's clear that that continuum works if you move from hunting and gathering, you go to agrarian, then you go to what's called industrialization, which is where manufacturing takes place. Then after that, the next stage, which is the fourth stage, is called deindustrialization. That stage is whereby now we are finding that the service sector is growing so much that there is more contribution to GDP from the service sector. This has happened actually in the Western world. Then from deindustrialization, the last stage is called reindustrialization. Now, Linda, it's taken over 1,000 years for some countries to come from agrarian to industrialization. Now they are under deindustrialization, where the service sector contributes high to GDP. You go to UK economy, you go to Japanese economy, Chinese economy, and the US economy. Now let me ask you, Linda, if you follow that continuum, where US was there 1,000 years ago, we want to achieve now, is it logical? It doesn't make sense. Now look at the Kenyan economy. Agriculture is around 22%. Manufacturing around 16%. The services sector is contributing 54.5% to GDP. Now, if these guys still want to go to industrialization, where we need manufacturing, like the issue of sugar, the issue of manufacturing clothes, textile, and the rest, where America was 1,000 years ago, do you think we'll ever catch up with the West? It cannot make sense. So I'm launching a book called Solomonic Economic Model on the Big Leap. And I'm proposing to Africa and developing countries to desist from following the path that was followed by the West, because now they are having what's called slow growth. They're having a lot of, let's say, trade deficits. They're having challenges they cannot turn around. Japanese economy is not growing now. In fact, if you want to save money in Japan, you have to pay interest to keep your money in the bank, because there is no way money is going to go manufacturing. So I'm trying to say, if already Kenya is doing 54.4% of services sector to GDP, Kenya can become the epicenter of services industry to bring the new growth, which is the new leap, thanks to globalization, digital disruption. Can you imagine now, Linda, that because of data, the big data, all these artificial intelligence, machine learning, you can be offering a service in Kenya, but an idea has come from London. For example, the bicycle sharing model in London can be put in an app in Kenya in 1 minute and works. Why are we still saying we must manufacture when we are not competitive in manufacturing? Mumia Sugar crushes 14 tons of sugarcane to produce 1 ton of sugar. In Brazil, they crush 7 tons of sugarcane to produce 1 ton of sugar. Now, can you imagine how we can compete with the sugar? We cannot compete on anything, even in oil. So if we go to offer services industry, using new technologies, using the new opportunity which has come, we can leapfrog. One example is to make ourselves have banking inclusion in Kenya, we needed to build brick and mortar like the US has done, UK has done, Europe has done, isn't it? Japan has done. But Safaricom, M-Pesa, you can be banked, so that's called leapfrog technology. So my advice to Kenya, we need to go for what is called, what are those leapfrog industries? We can go and create these leapfrog industries that do not have to give us 50 years, 1,000 years of journey to reach here. And actually, I can tell you, education sector, UK, Australia are the biggest exporter of education. That's why Kenyans go to UK, go to Australia for studies. Kenya can become the epicenter of education for the course across Africa and even some countries outside Africa. But what are we doing? We are putting a CS who is only in charge of saying, oh, you know, education is too expensive, let us privatize it. You see, those moves shows that we have not yet gotten in touch to what is the 21st century economy. We can never follow the route of the US. We can never follow the use of UK. Solomonic economic model will propose solutions which are concrete in a book, and we shall give a public lecture on this Solomonic economic model at University of Nairobi. It will be live, so people can come and listen to what I propose in the exact way it should be done. But this thinking was saying we can grow economy using the model which has been used 1,000 years ago is as if the world remains the same 1,000 years ago.
Linda, we welcome that Solomonic. We'll be glad. Actually, invite me for the talk. I'll be glad to come and engage it. Actually, give me a prior copy of the book. I'll read it. In the meantime, let me tell you how the president, Kenya Kwanza, through, for example, just one ministry of investment is exactly to try to answer. Because we are not here talking. We are here to give practical examples. Number one, I spoke about foreign direct investments. This is where, for example, where a company comes, puts in an industry for technological transfer for our young people, the issues of direct money here, the issue of jobs, okay? Currently, we are only doing at $500 million. The plan for that, in the ministry led by the CS, Moses Kuria, is to drive that to 10 billion by December. Already, the Taifa Gas, 200 million. As we speak, very soon, we are going to announce another like 2 billion. So we want to be practical in what we like to do. It will bring direct money here. It will bring jobs, technological transfer for our young people, and a lot of all these kind of things. Export is only at 10%. Only 10%. We want to increase that to 30% in another 5 years, so that all these fruits and everything that goes to waste, we also export, not just importing. Because by importing, you are weak. By exporting, you are strong. Because you are going to get the exchange higher. And then finally, and I want to add with that, this thing you are talking about, manufacturing contribution to GDP, that is where the whole economy, when you hear about GDP, when you hear about how economy is growing, is that. Because by that, you add value, right? And that's what we have a very clear target. It came from 9%, I know it's only 7%. We want to increase that to 15% by the year 2027 and to 20% by the year 2032. How are we going to do it? I want to give just one example by what you mentioned about those corrupt industries. Already, in a partnership between county governments and the national government, the president has committed 4.7 billion. Now, in every county, we are going to have, what is that county good for, right? We want to see that value addition. If it's leather, if it's cotton, if it's avocados, if it's whatever, there are going to be aggregation centers to bring them together. Some of them will be exported the way they are, but some of them we are going to have little industries to add value. Already, governors have committed to a match funding. So that's another 4.7, for example. And others have committed high amounts of money. So we want to begin seeing the way county governments have come, and there are some things that are being done by county governments that were not done before. Right now, we want them to go another step and compete on industrialization, compete on manufacturing, compete on value addition. That is the plan that we have. And with that, between 1 million to 5 million jobs will be created in the next 5 years. It is very practical, something doable. However, we are very open to the Solomonic advice that you are going to get professor and others, because the government cannot exist, doesn't know all other information. We are going to see the book. We are going to see what we can pick, and we are ready to move on. But already the plan is on the table, and you're already moving on right now as you speak like that. That is the surest way. When we get investors, Linda, they come with the modern technology. By the way, and anything that's not working is going to be sold off. We are not going to continue pumping government money, good money after bad money. That is the whole issue. And by the way, people should not panic about this thing of privatization. It is just being realistic. Linda, the Kenya Kwanza government is not in business of continuing to throw good money after bad money. Anything that is not working will bring an investor so that it is the investor's problem. I think
allow us to take a short break and say, come back on that very note. We get to know whether indeed it's the investor's problem or our very own, and this based on the policies that we have, this based on the social culture, in the social, contract, which is very, very important, and many other aspects of these relations and coming of investors after this break.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari. Are you
looking for a college that will shape your future career? At Candy College Beauty and Applied Sciences, we offer advanced courses with personalized attention to our students. Come and get your diploma or certificate in cosmetology, hairdressing and beauty therapy, diploma in community development and social work, or certification in catering and accommodation operation. We also offer diploma in nutrition and dietetics and many more. All of our graduates have secured employment in the job market, while others have gone into entrepreneurship. What are you waiting for? Join us today. For more information on how you can enroll, visit us at the London Beauty Building, 5th floor, Taveta Road, Nairobi, or call us on 0726 031 109 or 0784 515 606. Facebook, Candy College of Beauty and Applied Sciences, or on Instagram, Candy College of Sciences. Our January intake is ongoing. Candy College of Beauty and Applied Sciences is the cutting edge college.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Oh, hey guys.
You can catch us on Kids on the Block, Saturdays at 9 a.m.
Authentic, natural, planned. Transforming. Endless benefits. Slaty, purely Kenyan. Buy now on Jumia or Amazon.
The home of untold stories.
Dr. Peter Bai, as well as Professor Fred Ogola. Professor, I want you to sum it up on this because there are two things that we cannot leave this set without speaking to.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Linda. For our listeners, for your benefit of listening, let us just be clear that you cannot tax, you cannot have you cannot be able to have high taxation policies that are increasing, which are even unpredictable, and be able to attract foreign direct investment. I would say that there is what we call schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is whereby one part of the brain says A, another part of the brain says B. You want foreign direct investment. The only way to get foreign direct investment is to have attractive tax policy or economic policies that can attract, because investors out there are not coming to do for us social responsibility. They're not doing philanthropy. They are looking at where can I put my money. They can take the money to Tanzania, they can take them to Kenya, they can take them to Uganda, they can take them to Rwanda. So they're asking, where am I safe with my money? In a country where there's stable tax policy and there's no too much unnecessary taxation, they'll take their money there because they can predict what is going to be the outcome of their investment. But Kenya has shown that we don't have stable tax policy. How we are treating investors, we have received less foreign direct investment since Kenya Kwanza took office than when it was there before Uhuru, because
give them the benefit of the doubt that the president is keen on fixing the tax sector, or perhaps has advised
while it is true, Linda, let's take a model of a doctor. If I give you a patient that has only, let's say, kidney issues, then after a while you tell me, now we have moved from kidney to a heart issue now. Then after 1 month, you tell me, now we have the head issue, the heart issue, and kidney issue. Are you helping my patient? So as you fix the kidney, keep my patient stable.
Okay.
So you can.
That is.
No. Let me finish, Linda, because I didn't finish my point.
Sum it up.
So what I'm trying to say here is, we have seen that the dollar, the Kenya shillings issue is that we have had less inflows from foreign direct investment, which brings dollars, and that's why we're having the challenge. And then the second thing is that the utterances we are getting in the social media or in the media in Kenya, we are winning local political scores. That's great. But we are losing the foreign, our what we call geopolitical one. And the foreigners outside there are saying, Kenyans are still fighting. Let us wait until they finish their wars, we come. And that's why I disagree with both sides of the coalition. First, we need stability in Kenya. This is our country. So whichever what you want to do, I'm not saying it's wrong to do mass action, but let us look, what does mass action do to our economy? If my mass action can make someone sleep hungry for long, even they say in the Bible, if eating meat can make my brother to sin, I would rather not eat meat. So these people who are saying they are fighting each other in social media, oh Mara, we are going to do this and this, you are the investors. All these wars we are winning in the media in Kenya, in local politics, at the expense of the global economy. I would desist. I will tell the president, call Raila Odinga. Please sit down, talk to him, agree on a way forward, rather than driving our economy into a grinding halt for ego reasons. You won the presidency. You are in State House legitimately. Have a conversation with Raila. If you can't handle Raila in the street, bring him to State House, work with him. I'm not saying about handshake, but I'm talking about the solution to the Kenyans who are suffering. That's what should drive all our conversation.
I think, Linda, for me, it was what he mentioned before he veered off a bit. The issue of taxation. Let it be very clear and distinguish facts from maybe a bit of hearsay. The government is very clear. There are no additional taxes per se. What the government is saying, please, actually, I'm privy to the information by the chairman of KRA. Actually, they would want to make sure they are reduced to a point of people willingly go actually to pay taxes. They are working on national tax policy, by the way. So this conversation, there are many taxes, additional ones, it's very clear we must broaden so that everybody else pays what they feel are comfortable. That is how we are going to get out of money for the people. That's a fact. So that we avoid these hearsays. Number two, he mentioned something about what we are doing vis-a-vis the environment of doing business. The State Department for Investment is working on that ease of doing business in Kenya already at a very advanced stage by saying, what is GAF saying about their conditions for investments here? What about EU? What about America? What about UK? Other countries, so that we deal with specific issues on their issues. The State Department of Industry is working on the ease of manufacturing index, right? To find out those issues. Of course, you are aware the issue of energy has been a challenge. We are trying to see how to work on that. One of the ways, just for 1 minute, is this. The manufacturers, investors who are coming in our special economic zones, Lamu, Dongokundu, Naivasha, Kenani, and others, and those who are going to come into the industrial county aggregation and industrial parks in the counties are going to enjoy some specific tax exemptions. The issues of energy, we want to see how we can put energy, especially in those zones. They are going to be gazetted as special economic zones, right? Where they are going to be cheaper, so that we attract them directly to those zones where there's going to be no tarmac, all those kind of infrastructure, water, electricity, energy is going to be low specifically. You're going to get, for example, geothermal and all that, hydro. Those are some of the things we are doing to answer the question, the issue of high cost of, cost of doing business in Kenya, high cost of manufacturing in Kenya, so that we can now start coming from where we have been. You can imagine, Linda, 47 counties with another 10 or so special economic zones, all of them fighting, competing to do manufacturing and value addition, the impact to the economy. That is where we are. So we just want to tell Kenyans, we are where we are planning, we are moving where we are going, and every day is a step towards that goal. That's what is important.
All right.
Those
so
are
the mass action, all said and done.
And he's an economist. I've done governance. Governance is about looking at everything. Looking at economy, looking at the development, looking at administration, looking at the politics, and making sure it works. It's about fixing everything and make sure things work.
And nothing is working.
And countdown to the mass
Professor,
action.
according to Professor, he's a very good economist on the one side. Then at the other side, he's talking, like somebody who wants to do some activism. So we want to know where you are, Professor.
I'm using
let's talk. Here we have a very good conversation about how to practically move this Kenya.
In fact, Linda,
you cannot be talking and you are giving very sound advice based on the World Bank level.
Linda, let me be honest.
Like
I think the conversation has moved to a very good level where we are talking about what matters.
Yeah.
And I like what you have said, the fact that we really have to find that everything has to work together. And that's what I'm telling you. You don't have to win half wars. You have to win the whole war. And when you're winning local war, not winning the global war, you're not winning the war. So let us just find how holistically, in governance, like you said, things must be holistically working. And I'm telling you, for me, forget about all these things. Economy is very emotional. When someone sees Raila, front page, mass action, you understand? Ruto replying back, Gachagua hitting back, he's sick in New York. How do you book a flight to come here? So I'm trying to say, for me, I don't want to know who won the election or who lost the election, because the constitution of Kenya is clear who is the president. There's no governance gap. What we are having is what is called, how do we deliver to Kenyans? And if Raila's mass action is the issue, these guys, since the election was announced and president was announced, Kenyans have not seen these guys have coffee. Yeah. I'm sure that coffee, whether it is hot coffee, cold coffee, let them just have coffee and say, guys, you're a statesman. Raila says he's a statesman. Ruto is the statesman now. Why don't they sit down and just say which way forward for Kenya?
How much more can you negotiate?
Because do you know why? Do you know why?
I'm not saying that he is one. It is
Uhuru called him. Uhuru called him. Maybe handshake was not the right idea, but if Ruto believes handshake is not the right idea, let him find the right way rather than letting the problem stay because he does not want something that works.
You see, Linda, Professor is saying something, and that's what I'm saying. We need to be clear where we are going. For the last 1 hour, we have spoken about how to drive this nation. Now, do you think the President of the Republic of Kenya and his CSs have the time to drift from what I've just spoken to go begin meet? Look here, let's not go that direction. The whole world, by the way, just for his information, the ranking line now as a destiny for investments in Kenya is going high. We are where the plane is moving on to the takeoff. Now, we don't mind Raila Amolo Odinga doing what he's doing. He's a Kenyan. He has his own people. If he wants to do everything, and by the way, Kenya should not panic because of this deadline. I think it's tomorrow or the other day. It will come. The sun will rise, thanks to God. It will be 9, 10, 11, 12. Things will happen, whatever will happen. The only thing we are saying, let nobody go to demolish people's business. Let nobody kill someone. Let nobody, injure anyone. You can do, because in the constitution, we are one of the most, actually, the people he's talking about, the IMF, will be watching to see how democratic Kenya is. Because you have no problem with anybody. What we are not going to do, I can tell you this today, and I'll repeat this again, is to try to stop Raila from doing what he's doing. Because the idea is we try a bit, then it becomes confrontational, it becomes commotion. The police will be there to offer him security because he is a Kenyan. All the people will be there are Kenyans. And the government needs to offer them security just to make sure they are orderly. I can tell you this. Let Raila do what he is in his heart to do, so he is happy. The moment you begin telling him, come, we talk. That now I can tell you, Professor, the last thing we are going to see in this country is anything to try to say no, because we are fearing that you are going there. Instead of going there, you begin sinking in, buying fear to come and say, let's have a cup of tea. Tea people can take anywhere. But this tea that you lead to anything to say that please come back to government so you don't do what you are doing is not going to work.
Dr. Raila Odinga, or better yet, the Azimio team, then they say, we are giving you 14 days, yeah? Yeah. Acknowledging that, well, you can't just come and say, we want this done tomorrow, there and then. Equally, these are individuals that have occupied spaces in government and have, some little knowledge as to what can be achieved on what timelines. Without looking at the person, Raila Odinga, let us focus on the fact that he is Kenyan. valid points he has, concerns that need to be addressed, concerns that need to be looked into. Is the government doing something to make sure that this is addressed?
I like that. And that's what we have been saying. Let opposition come with points. Let them come and say 5 points, like what you're saying. And every day we are saying, this is hot. Kenya Kwanza on each of the points. When you talk about cost of living, when you talk about cost of food, every time you can come and say, this is what. And that is exactly what Raila, when he was advising the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was doing. They would come with propositions. That is exactly what Raila, when he was with the coalition government with Moi Kibaki, that's what he was. He knows, he is acutely aware that government must run its course for things to happen. However, and please, we are going to lose Kenyans, Linda, if we don't dissect. And that's what I went to school to do, to study, to analyze and tear apart for people to see. We don't give, we analyze. Now, this is a problem that's happening in Kenya here today. Raila is this man who survives very well in opposition. He survives very poorly in government. And that's why some pundits say that's how Raila lost. Because after being the prime minister in Kibaki's government, he couldn't do much. That's why, but you would see he's in coalition, he's a principal, he'll jump and say I was not consulted. He survives more as an opposition. The worst blunder Raila feels he did on us is this handshake. Because he had pegged all his hopes that he would keep quiet, completely support Uhuru for him to be handed the presidency. Now, when that failed, we must understand Raila the person, the frustration. And you think, I wish I did this in January 2018. If you don't understand that, we'll think that Raila is very genuine about the issues he's raising. He has been government. He knows. If you ask him and his people, he's doing politics more, other than genuine concern for the suffering or whatever he's calling the suffering for the Kenyans. Kenyans are able to know that, look, we had President Kenyatta, the first president, we had Moi, we had Moi Kibaki, we had Uhuru. Come on, this is Ruto. He is 6. Let's give him, there's something Kenyans, if you ask them, let us give him chance to do what he said. That is what majority of Kenyans are saying today. However, there has to be this political movement just to make sure, Raila is feeling, I wish I did this before. And now let me do this. In Raila's heart, I'll tell you today, and his team, they believe that if they make so much noise and they try to bring the attention of the international community, Ruto will give in and there will be a handshake. That is in his heart. Number two, if that's not so, in his heart, he believes something can happen like a miracle and they just walk to State House and things fall apart. But I can tell you this, Ruto, the president, is not just a president. He has the combination of being an academician, he's a scholar, he understands management, he's a scientist, he knows empirical formulas of arriving to solutions, but finally, he's a clear, self-made politician. He knows everybody in this country.
Let's allow Professor.
Before I say something that is not nice. So now, let me tell you, I like when someone says, I know the president's heart. When you say, in Raila Odinga's heart, Linda, let's be honest. Do you think that is a genuine statement? Like, I have a wife at home, isn't it? I assume I know her heart, and I assume she knows my heart. When Dr. Mbai on live television claims he knows both Ruto's heart and Raila's heart,
we analyze.
I mean, by analysis, there's something wrong there, but that's the story for another day.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you, honestly speaking, we have two gentlemen. One person has got legal license to be the president, legitimacy, isn't it? That's William Ruto. Somebody has got social legitimacy. That's why when this man says we are going to Jacaranda, full to the brim, means he has followership. And some Kenyans, I'm surprised. When I walk on my side, I tell them, guys, when it's like, they tell me, lazima huyu jamaa atoke kwa State House. There are some people, Linda, many Kenyans who believe that what Allah is saying he can remove Ruto from State House is possible. They believe him. Don't even worry about what Raila believes. Be more concerned about what the people believe.
Yeah.
They believe that this guy is the people's president. They believe that this guy has got some say. Even someone said before, he said Raila can call a national holiday. What I'm trying to say in short is you cannot ignore someone with such level of social legitimacy. He does not have the legal mandate, but he has got social legitimacy.
Yeah.
And for governance to work, that's why even NGOs, they take photos and post them on social media and say we have funded this and this, you need some social license to operate. The blessing from the community and the society. So Kenya Kwanza can punch their chest that they have the president in State House with a sword. But you know what's happening? The state is owned by Kenyans who do not have the sword. And they can make the seat become impossible. Before we get there, why don't you have conversation when it is still possible to have that conversation rather than too late? According to me, what I'm telling Kenya Kwanza government, I don't want to know what their formula is, but let that formula work. It is, the country has gone to politics too early. Is that a good thing? It's not a good thing. The country is having wait and see. Is that the best way to be as a country to develop? No. If you say he is qualified, he has a PhD, I'm grateful. The first president in Kenya to have a PhD, isn't it? Let the PhD work. We want the PhD to work for Kenyans. You can't use your intelligence against Kenya. We want to use your intelligence for Kenya. We don't lack intelligent people in Kenya, but intelligence is used against Kenya. You can hire the best banker to work for you here in TV47, but the banker can only help you lose money. So is the banker working for TV47, or he's using his intelligence for his own benefit? So the question here is, Kenya Kwanza, with all the qualification of the president that he has, is he using this qualification to bring the cost of unga down? Is he seeing education is the mess at the moment? In fact, I can tell you, when you're being told that someone saying that in high school, I see the statement from the CS Education, that in high school, I paid 54,000 shillings, but in secondary, I'm only asking you to pay 16. Us and the CS and him never paid school fees in university. Why are we imposing it on the next generation? We didn't even pay. The question was, do you know why there was a motivation to work hard in high school? Because once you got a certain grade, your university was free. Now tell me, if my son goes to secondary school knowing that even if you get an A in high school, you still have to pay for university, what is his motivation? So me, I knew if I get an A in primary school, I'll get scholarship for secondary school. I did. Then I knew if I got an A in secondary school, I'll get a scholarship for secondary university. I got. There's no child in any village in Kenya dreaming that. He was a minister for education. If his current minister doesn't know, why don't he tell him what to do? Let them use their intelligence and qualification and their legitimacy to win Kenyans' heads and hearts. Raila will be irrelevant. But if he cannot beat Raila, I said, if he can't beat Raila on the street, which means, can you make Raila irrelevant by fixing what he's calling Kenyans to the sea to do, cost of living, isn't it? If you can't fix that, then fix him through the other way around. If you don't have a way to fix the two, why are you in State House?
It's very simple. The education work in party is work in progress. I'm hope Professor.
Everything is Kenya wait.
I hope Professor give his views.
Kenya wait.
I hope Professor give his views. I did.
He constantly does.
No, that's what we are hoping.
Yes. And I saw your views.
Yes, I did my part as a Kenyan, as a scholar. I went to give my views about education because I believe in education. That's number one. All these other issues, I can tell you today, Kenyans who are there, they are saying, we have voted so many presidents. We have just voted this one. We will give him his time to deliver. That's all what I can tell you. And Raila Odinga and his team, even as they say 3 days countdown, they are aware of that. That Kenyans are giving it time to allow the president to deliver. They know when and how to ask questions.
And later I can say, as far as I'm concerned, to make my closing remarks, we shall be on this set again after 3 weeks, even after 1 year. I can tell you, if I was to advise the president, he could have picked one issue that he can fix without so much noise and start showing things are working.
But
if he can just speak full and say it, I will pay for all the forex adjustments there. I will also be able to sort out the issue of inflation there. And someone can predict that for the longest time possible, even for 6 months only, that fuel will be available at this price for 6 months. You understand? Then after that again, of course, tactically shift and said, now let me go to electricity. Kenyans will have seen a bit of the issue of transport and fuel, then go to electricity. But if nothing of those things, the promises they made, what
Hustler Fund.
No. Hustler Fund is. Hustler Fund is not working.
Linda, nobody is going to subsidize consumption.
No, what I'm trying to say,
Let's be very clear.
Linda, what I've just said, let one thing work.
And then
Hustler Fund is illegal according to Operation Indo Gatuzi. The board cannot take oath of office. The court has decided not to allow them to take oath of office because they were taken there without procedure. Is a court ruling which has been done. So how do you want, as I told you, Linda, you want to give me 50,000 shillings to begin a business when I can't take a child to school, I cannot pay for my medical bill, I can't eat. Even Maslow's pyramid of needs, you have to sort the physiological needs first. So if the president has formulas, how is he ignoring glaring knowledge which is there, like Maslow's pyramid of needs?
Linda,
you come from a bank, you're being given 100, even 1 million loan to start a business. On your way back, you're being called your mother in hospital and they need money. You're being called your son has been chased from school. You are going home, you are going to sleep hungry while you invest in a business. It is not logically possible. A hungry man or woman can't think unless they have eaten.
Well,
and you feel at home first in your stomach. Let us first Kenyans feel at home in this Kenya Kwanza government, our stomach since inauguration. No Kenyan stomach is at home until that happens. Even innovation, all this investment.
Definitely, okay. You know, we allow people to talk.
Close, yes.
There's a lot of freedom of expression in Kenya, so you can say things even without, you know, when you know they are not factual. But I want to say this,
you
please.
could say majority of
And I want to urge our people. It is a policy statement. The Kenya Kwanza government will not subsidize consumption. I don't know for how many times you are going to repeat it, because it's not sustainable. We cannot borrow money from China or elsewhere to come and subsidize fuel for a short-term measure. We want to work out on stabilization of international prices, and of course, you know, fuel is not a Kenyan issue, to be able to make it very stable in the long run, so that we don't lie to Kenyans. And for 6 months, for 3 months, it's not going to be possible. So those are some of the things we are talking about. And please, I know he's particular about who sits where and where. All the CSs, they are appointees of the president. It is the president who appointed them because he knows why.
Right.
Let us give the president and his cabinet time to deliver, and they are delivering. And yes, we have done the quick things about getting even food to stabilize the prices as we wait for the fertilizer to work because of production. And from there, we are very comfortable. From August, there will be no issue of food. It will be natural that food prices will come down because we'll have gotten what we call low cost of production.
You also need to understand that we have a conversation on just how the subsidized fertilizer is helpful for that matter. Quality is equally very important.
First of all, they promised 2,500.
And then
they are delivering 3,500.
That's not true.
And the farmers' knowledge on the ground says they believe the quality of the fertilizer is not up to standard. It has not resonated the quality of the soil.
Those are the
research not done to know the relationship between fertilizer and soil.
And you see, Professor saying very well that he's in the middle. He is not supporting, he's not supporting Ruto. But those materials are the same materials they are going to use in the rallies. That we promised, no. That we promised fertilizer of 2,500. The fertilizer was 3,500 from 6,000. So let's be a bit factual. Let's be a bit factual in all those things.
It was 2,500.
Okay,
I have a clip
thank
for
you so
it.
much. We have to close.
Share the evidence.
Yes, Professor Fred Ogola.